What's up, cool people? I'm Matt Conroy. Welcome back to our Bible study. Okay, so we're looking at Numbers chapter 32. Last chapter involved conquering the Midianites, basically. And it had specifically mentioned that they were on a certain side of the Jordan River, across from Jericho. And I guess maybe them still being there is going to be relevant to this chapter. I might just dive into it here and see how relevant that is. So, not much more context, I think, that I can accurately give in relation to this. So then, here we go. Numbers chapter 32. The tribes of Reuben and Gad owned vast numbers of livestock. So when they saw that the lands of Jazer and Gilead were ideally suited for their flocks and herds, they came to Moses, Eleazar the priest, and the other leaders of the community. They said, "Notice the towns of Ataroth, Dibon, Jazer, Nimrah, Heshbon, Elealeh, Sibmah, Nebo, and Beon. The Lord has conquered this whole area for the community of Israel, and it is ideally suited for all our livestock. If we have found favor with you, please let us have this land as our property instead of giving us land across the Jordan River." So, yeah. And that's pretty much where they were situated as of the conquest of the Midianites. Real quick footnote there. So, as in Samaritan Pentateuch, a Greek. Sorry, man. I'm a little tired today. Hebrew reads Sebum. But, especially if there was no, vowel, if there was no other letter there in the original Hebrew to signify that there was an H, then it's basically just, trying to figure out how we would put vowels in here. And depending on how you pronounce the I, it would even be like Sibma instead of Sebum. It's all the more similarity between them. But anyway, so two of the tribes, Reuben and Gad, basically want to keep the land on this side of the Jordan River instead of going elsewhere because it's already, it looks like a good place for their livestock, which they seem to have plenty of. So then we get to verse 6. "Do you intend to stay here while your brothers go across and do all the fighting?" Moses asked the men of Gad and Reuben. "Why do you want to discourage the rest of the people of Israel from going across to the land the Lord has given them? Your ancestors did the same thing when I sent them from Kadesh Barnea to explore the land. After they went up to the valley of Eshcol and explored the land, they discouraged the people of Israel from entering the land the Lord was giving them. Then the Lord was very angry with them, and he vowed, 'Of all those I rescued from Egypt, no one who is 20 years old or older will ever see the land I swore to give to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, for they have not obeyed me wholeheartedly. The only exceptions are Caleb son of Jephunneh the Kenizzite and Joshua son of Nun, for they have wholeheartedly followed the Lord.'" So, since the tribes of Reuben and Gad are asking for this land, Moses is like, "Okay, hold up now. You mean y'all are going to stay here and not fight? Let me make sure you understand why we need to we need to have everybody on board with crossing into this promised land. And yeah, it basically gives a summary of back when the scouts gave a bad report, or at least most of them did, and pretty much scared the Israelites out of going into the Promised Land back 40-some years ago, as of, this moment that we're reading. So, and I think the summary is actually going to continue on. So then we get to verse 13. The Lord was angry with Israel and made them wander in the wilderness for 40 years until the entire generation that sinned in the Lord's sight had died. But here you are, a brood of sinners, doing exactly the same thing. You are making the Lord even angrier with Israel. If you turn away from him like this, and he abandons them again in the wilderness, you will be responsible for destroying this entire nation. But they approached Moses and said, We simply want to build pens for our livestock and fortified towns for our wives and children. Then we will arm ourselves and lead our fellow Israelites into battle until we have brought them safely to their land. Meanwhile, our families will stay in the fortified towns we build here, so they will be safe from any attacks by the local people. We will not return to our homes until all the people of Israel have received their portions of land. But we do not claim any of the land on the other side of the Jordan. We would rather live here on the east side and accept this as our grant of land. So, basically, the tribes of Reuben and Gad respond by saying, no, we're not abandoning you all. We just want to claim this land for ourselves. Once we stake our claim here, we'll go and fight and make sure that everybody else gets to, inhabit their land as well. But yeah, it's understandable, though, that Moses would be concerned about something like this because of the 40-some years ago where, just reports of a few not wanting to go and fight and take control of the Promised Land led everybody else to not want to go either. So, when you've got two entire tribes that would possibly be saying, nah, y'all go on ahead, we'll chill here. No. Because then, the other tribes are going to start thinking, oh, wait, we're down 2 tribes worth of troops. I'm not liking our chances as much here. Maybe we could find somewhere else to live. But anyway, again, that's not what's going on here. Reuben and Gad, or the tribes of Reuben and Gad, just want to stake their claim in this portion of land that they have just conquered, basically. So, then we read verse 20. Then Moses said, If you keep your word and arm yourselves for the Lord's battles, and if your troops cross the Jordan and keep fighting until the Lord has driven out his enemies, then you may return when the Lord has conquered the land. You will have fulfilled your duty to the Lord and to the rest of the people of Israel, and the land on the east side of the Jordan will be your property from the Lord. But if you fail to keep your word, then you will have sinned against the Lord, and you may be sure that your sin will find you out. Go ahead and build towns for your families and pens for your flocks, but do everything you have promised. So, Moses basically just says, yeah, that's okay, but you have to make absolutely sure that you're good on your word here. Yeah. Not really too much else to say about that. So, verse 25. Then the men of Gad and Reuben replied, We, your servants, will follow your instructions exactly. Our children, wives, flocks, and cattle will stay here in the towns of Gilead. But all who are able to bear arms will cross over to fight for the Lord, just as you have said. So Moses gave orders to Eleazar the priest, Joshua son of Nun, and the leaders of the clans of Israel. He said, "The men of Gad and Reuben who are armed for battle must cross the Jordan with you to fight for the Lord. If they do, give them the land of Gilead as their property when the land is conquered. But if they refuse to arm themselves and cross over with you, then they must accept land with the rest of you in the land of Canaan." So now Moses is telling others what has been agreed upon and basically getting other people involved to hold the tribes of Gad and Reuben accountable on this. Interesting, though, that, like, he basically says if they go with you, they can get what they want, but if they don't go, then all this stuff that they've built here, they're not going to get that because they didn't do what they agreed to. So rather than getting what they want, they're going to get something else, which would also maybe provide some incentive for the other tribes and leaders to hold them accountable, because if there's land being allotted to more tribes within Canaan, then that means each tribe gets less of a portion of Canaan. Anyway, then we get to verse 31. The tribes of Gad and Reuben said again, "We are your servants, and we will do as the Lord has commanded. We will cross the Jordan into Canaan, fully armed to fight for the Lord, but our property will be here on this side of the Jordan." So Moses assigned land to the tribes of Gad, Reuben, and half the tribe of Manasseh, son of Joseph. He gave them the territory of King Sihon of the Amorites, and the land of King Og of Bashan, the whole land with its cities and surrounding lands. The descendants of Gad built the towns of Dibon, Ataroth, Aroer, Atroth Shofan, Jazer, Jogbehah, Beth Nimrah, and Beth Haran. These were all fortified towns with their pens for their flocks. I probably should have stopped before verse 34 there, but I'm going to pause now for a sec. Tribes of Gad and Reuben just confirm again that they're going to go and fight. And so Moses assigns some of the land that they're currently in to certain tribes, and also half the tribe of Manasseh, which is interesting that that tribe would get split up like that, but oh well. Also, the land that they get was actually some of the land that they had conquered back multiple chapters ago, when they fought against, the Amorites and some other people groups, but there were 3 different kingdoms that they conquered kind of rapid fire, and now that land is getting allotted to some of the tribes. And then it's just talking about some of the towns that were built by the tribe of Gad. So then we pick up at verse 37, and I'll read the rest of the way through. The descendants of Reuben built the towns of Heshbon, Elealeh, I don't know if that's the pronunciation, but whatever, Kiriathaim, Nebo, Baal-meon, and Sibmah. They changed the names of some of the towns they conquered and rebuilt. Then the descendants of Machir of the tribe of Manasseh went to Gilead and conquered it, and they drove out the Amorites living there. So Moses gave Gilead to the Machirites, descendants of Manasseh, and they settled there. The people of Jair, another clan of the tribe of Manasseh, captured many of the towns in Gilead and changed the name of that region to the towns of Jair. Meanwhile, a man named Nobah captured the town of Kenath and its surrounding villages, and he renamed the area Noba after himself. So, not 100% sure all the different towns that got renamed from the old names, but, I guess in some cases, some of the old names might not have made sense to the Israelites, and or could potentially have been blasphemous, like not in line with God's orders. So the Hebrew, instead of the towns of just Jair, it was Havoth Jair. Which doesn't make much difference to us reading it nowadays, I imagine. There might have been some significance to the whole Havoth part of that in Hebrew that I'm just not aware of. But anyway, so, yeah. Conquering being done, lands starting to get divided up amongst the tribes, but the assumption is they only get to keep this land if they continue fighting with the rest of, the army of Israel to make sure that the other tribes also get the land that they're supposed to get in Canaan. So anyway, that will wrap it up for Numbers chapter 32. Alright, so, with more land being available after conquering the Midianites and multiple other kingdoms that we've read about previously, some of the tribes of Israel wanted some land in that area. But they pretty much had to agree that they would continue to fight, in other areas so the rest of the tribes could get land that they're supposed to get in Canaan. Seems like that's all good and A-okay with everybody, but yeah. I suppose we'll follow up on that in future chapters. But anyway, as always, like and share if you enjoyed the video, subscribe to the channel and click the bell to get updates when I post new videos. Make sure to look down in the description to get info on other social media pages and all that good stuff. And leave comments down below with any thoughts you have. So that's it for now. Hope you're all doing well. Hopefully I'll see you for the next video. But until then, stay cool, people.